illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The title of today's talk comes from one of our articles, August 1997. The title is really the role of leadership in Islamic movement. What is leadership? Leadership is a complex phenomena involving the constant interaction of three essential elements: the leader, the followers, and the surrounding situation or context. This is a very important thing about leadership. It should be simple for everybody to understand, but what are the three main elements about leadership? Mainly, it's the followers, it's the surrounding situation or context, and it's the leader themselves, so that's leadership. But an effective leader must know something about each and how they interact. Perhaps the most obvious component of any leadership scenario is the leader himself. Many people wonder what separates leaders from others and how to identify leadership potential. One of the most enduring methods has been to recognize certain traits that are associated with effective leaders. In other words, in the past and even now, they try to recognize certain traits in leadership: independent thinking, zeal, desire, motivation. All those things are considered components or characteristics of leadership, or those are traits that are so-called desirable leaderships. These traits can only be assessed in conjunction with other factors, such as the nature of the followers and the characteristics of the situation. What are they dealing with at the time? In other words, they must be viewed and judged in accordance with the context of environmental circumstances. Traits alone do not mark quality leadership. However, it is how they are used, the behavior of the individuals. Many students of leadership principles and concepts believe that great situations, such as wars, create dynamic leaders. They may cite how World War II produced such individuals as Winston Churchill, Joseph Stalin, and Adolf Hitler. Historically, it is the arena of war that certain individuals have made their mark as great leaders and strategists, such as Sun Tzu, Alexander the Great, Hannibal, Julius Caesar, Attila the Hun, Khalid ibn Walid, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, and Mao Zedong, among others. Chairman Mao, the Long March, he developed into a very good military strategist as time went along. He didn't develop, but there was certain analysis they made. And one or two analyses is what shaped the whole framework. After Japan invaded China and they changed Manchuria to Manchukuo, and Japan had a structure since 1923, the Tanaka Plan, 1923. The foreign minister of Japan, Tanaka, he was the one that developed the scenario of worldwide leadership for Japan. See, white folks over here, we was talking about Admiral Perry last week. He went over there in 1853, and 50 years later, Japan had moved from the Middle Ages up to they defeated the Russians in the war in 1904. The Russo-Japanese, they defeated, technically they defeated Russia. And that, just think, they didn't went from not the Stone Age, but back that way, you know what I mean? And they came all the way up to being able to defeat the biggest European or Western power at that time. And they did it with modern Japanese ships and weapons. So within 20 years from that period, Tanaka, the foreign minister, came up with a plan of global domination for Japan. Now imagine how fast they're moving. They were in the Stone Age, and within 70 years, they're ready to go for the whole show. Boy, Admiral Perry was rolling over in his grave. He might not even been dead yet. Well, of course he was. But going over there and wake up the Japanese. So they had a plan. Japan is an island country and it's too small. So they have to build their global domination built on the back of China. They got the people, they got the land, and so we'll build. That's why they invaded China way back when, before they invaded Britain and all that. They invaded China, 1931 or something. At least by 34, 35, they was already there. So the Chinese Communist Party made a decision, and it was the correct analysis. It was simple, but it said Japan is a small country that's strong, and China is a big country that's weak. It was just a correct analysis. It's just like the analysis we make. So when you make that analysis, everything that emerged out of that analysis is usually going to be semi-correct. For instance, guerrilla warfare over confrontation. Using the whole country of China to just swallow up the Japanese. All you do is just ho-hum, and they're going to kill millions, which they did. But they get in this area, you release the dikes, and it flood out the Japanese so they can't take their big heavy guns on wheels. You know what I mean? Little stuff like that. You keep doing that stuff over and over again, and pretty soon you're going to wear the Japanese down. You're going to frustrate them. And that's what happened. So their synopsis was Japan is a small country that's strong. And we're a big country that's been weakened by the Opium War, the British, the French, everybody that cut off a piece of China, right? And we just getting back together. Even they were still fighting Chiang Kai-shek. They didn't finish their fight till 1949. Back to leadership. So that was the job of leadership, to make a correct analysis. That's the situation. The leader, the followers, and the situation, right? That all worked together in harmony for them at that time. Then along came World War II, along come American assistance and the OSS or the CIA, and they, kind of helped a little here and there. And pretty soon, China was independent. Okay. Do you see Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte, Mao Zedong? In times of civil strife, like that of the 1960s, change and turmoil has produced towering figures such as Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, that is Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., who are referred to as leaders of this era. One thing I want to say about see everybody talk about mainly these two about the 60s, Martin Luther King and Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. During the 80s, they had a lot of people. I remember UC Berkeley, when I recognized it was early 1980, 82, Reverend Shuttlesworth. You remember that name? Shuttlesworth, yeah, down in, they blew up his house down in Bull Connor. I think it was around down in that area. But when he gave his lecture, remember the press gonna design their leader, and everything is gonna fall on them. And they did this and they did that. But all the leaders that I listened to during the 80s, they was telling the story from their perspective. And I remember when I was listening to Reverend Shuttlesworth, he said, I heard the thunder roar and all of that. That means when his bombs blew up his house, he was telling about those bombings from his perspective, not from the press Martin Luther King. So you begin to realize how much a part everybody else played, and not how little King played, but everything is under his umbrella almost. And almost all the lecturers that I heard during the 80s, since being there at UC Berkeley and going other places, you just pick up on all those guys that are invited and traveling around, and you realize, we always realize it, but we're still learning a lot in the 1980s, especially the early 80s, how big a part everybody else played that they never said nothing about.
Right. I just heard something like that the other day where they talked about just that.
Right.
Martin Luther King basically, like you used the term, the umbrella.
Right.
Everybody else was really going through the struggle.
Yeah.
But since he was considered the leader, he just kind of solidified it, but he wasn't going through what everybody else.
No, he was going through his own thing as the leader. He was going through, but the other people were leaders too. They were going through their own local, they killing Medgar Evers them. They trying to hang so-and-so, and they running through the fields. Everybody was busy, And even like now, I don't want to get into it. John Lewis say, good trouble. Well, if good trouble would be helping Imam Jamil. If you know Martin Luther King and them was under assault by the government, right? Then what are they going to do? What do you think? Just because they say Imam Jamil shot a police, you're not going to investigate it? You're not going to look into it at all? And he was with you, or you was around? You know what I mean? If the FBI was doing that to y'all, what you think they going to do to him? Anyway, good trouble. Just remember, every time you see one of them, they clapping for some Negro or something, that he's on the team. All these mayors, none of them are saying anything that relate to reality. How did it get like this? Why don't somebody say, this is how we got here? You put us here. We didn't just get on a boat and start shooting each other and blowing each other up. How did we get here? So, again, the leader, the followers, and the situation, or the environmental circumstances. While dynamic situations can produce great leaders, the best leaders are those who produce dynamic situations. We can see an example of this in the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Through his leadership, the whole of Arabia was transformed into an oasis of Tawheed. His closest companions, Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhum, these people, or the Prophet changed the situation, the whole situation. So at first, he wasn't no big time leader. He was just Al-Amin, one of the crowd, a good part of the crowd, the top of the line. And then his mission started evolving and evolving, and pretty soon his leadership then changed the situation. He didn't come in because it was a big war and we got to have a general and we got to have a cabinet, right? His behavior, and we feel that that's the best type of leadership. Or a dynamic leadership. There's two dynamics. One is when people rise to the occasion, right? And when people set the occasion, they make the occasion. And that's what we want to deal with in leadership today. Okay. So let's see what we're going to do here. These are the verses of the book that makes things clear. We rehearse to thee some of the story of Moses and Pharaoh in truth. For people who believe, truly Pharaoh elated himself in the land and broke up his people into sections, depressing a small group amongst them. Their sons he slew, but he kept alive their females. For he was indeed a maker of mischief, and we wish to be gracious to those who are being depressed in the land, to make them leaders in faith and make them heirs. So this is talking about the mustadafin fil ard. And mustadafin, the definition, comes from istadafa, to esteem one weak, to take advantage of one's weakness, to abase one on the account of their weakness, and those who oppress. So one of the ayats said, this same ayat says, it uses the term urido, Allah wanted. Allah wanted to be gracious to those who are being oppressed. To do what? To give them in the land power, ability, and leadership. That's what Allah wanted to do for those people. So it goes on to say that Pharaoh made the people into sects. Shia, different sects, oppressing some, slaughtering them, their sons, and keeping alive their women. That's the same thing they do here in the West. When you a man and you can't, at least during our time, and you can't support your wife and children, and you don't feel quite a human being, and then the sister has been trained to harass you. Why you ain't got no job? And they'll come straight to the point. You ain't no man. You just a bum. You got all these kids here and don't take care of them. The guy could have been looking everywhere for a job. And then they got the dragnet out. The dragnet is out there to catch him and pull him away. And I heard a few ladies just the other day when they were talking about different kinds of people, and they said, yeah, the black man is kind of missing a little bit. I said, even you with the knowledge you have, you don't understand? You better go over this stuff and look at who you're talking about. So the number one oppressed right, is when you look at the people going to work in the old days, it was 8 women going to work downtown, right, and 2 men. So that's not only America. I mean, D.C. That ratio was similar all over America. So they changed the dynamics from the man being the leadership and the breadwinner to the woman being the leadership of the breadwinner. In other words, that's the same as killing you when you go in the house if they're going to allow you because you can't pay no rent. And so you a go-getter. Well, you're not going to go get for long because you're going to prison, right? And then you're going to leave your whole family here now. You might have had a nice little run for a couple of years, if that long, but you're going to be in prison for a year, 5 years, 10 years. When you come home, your children are all grown. And your wife then disappeared. And some people here, this area was serious with people with long sentences. When I would go out to Lorton, when are you going home? Oh, I'll be going home in 2014 or 19 or something. Good God Almighty. People would call me on the phone, how long you been in the joint? I've been here 30-something years. My goodness. I went out there, I'm telling you, now I've been into the they would call them kind of the roughest prisons I was in Leavenworth, I was out at McNeil Island. Well, McNeil Island, you call it Canary Island, really. Snitches Island, because it was way out in Washington. And all the people, like if somebody from D.C. was out there, it's because he was in it with somebody around here. Maybe he told, and they got 40 years and he got 5 years, so they sent him out there. So you could imagine if somebody was out there from D.C., or if they was down at other island, they'd get the feeling that, oh, something must have happened. But anyway, killing the men and leaving the women folk alive. And if you're a go-getter, well, you'll be in prison, and they still got your wife and children. And they're not going to listen to you. And they're not going to respect you because you're gone all the time. And then it gets into that transgenerational cycle. What's the cycle? The grandfather went to prison, the father went to prison, and the son go to prison. Over and over again. You see some parents, you might go to one prison and see the whole 3 generations in one prison. The grandfather, right, he's just 60 years old, could be 55. The son, the grandfather, the father, and the son in the same prison. California is known for that. So when they call Johnson on the thing, they might have to say Johnson, and they call their number after that, so they'll know that this Johnson, the grandfather, not Johnson, the father, the grandson. When people read the scripture, most immigrants wouldn't read that scripture like that. That Allah wanted to be kind and generous to those people who being oppressed. They will take it as, oh, the people from back in that time. But what about the people here, right? And remember, why is this job so particular for knowing the situation? How many people are going to sympathize with us right here? Well, how many people was out during the Black Lives Matter? One Pakistani family, right? Remember we saw them that's it. There was nobody else there. We'd hear As-Salam Alaikum, but it was like, the Johnny boy that prayed once every 6 months or something like that, or, when he was in jail, or, but they ain't heavy into no sunnah. So, knowing the environment, you can live in the same place and be in a totally different environment because of where you're coming from. If we've been here for hundreds of years and I went through the process of American conditioning, that means only a few of us are going to escape the traps laid by the system. Only a few. And you will escape it when you're old. If you notice, you don't see the police. When you get gray hair and everything, the police don't stop you anymore. You ever notice that? But they always stop all the youngsters because they already know if you got that old, if you got old enough to get gray hair out here and you ain't, then you're all right because you've been conditioned. You're one of the few that trained, and you're probably one of us. You're either a male personality, you're a parole officer, probation officer, right? You're probably somebody working in the system to keep an eye on everybody else, right? So they got it. It's easy to recognize where everybody belongs. And the way people dress and the way they walk and the way they talk, you can just about categorize who is who. You would have to be a dummy not to be able to figure out what category. We got 5 categories. Where do they go? Right? It's simple. You can't be too wrong. So they want to continue control, so slaughter the men. Leave the women folk alive. They're not going to pick that up if they're immigrants. They're going to just say, black men in America don't stick with their families too well. And I remember one of the guys married, it was Muhammad Al-Asi. He married somebody out here when I first came here. Then they got a divorce almost right away. And he was thinking, well, he was saying, it must be something genetically wrong with he didn't know what he was telling me, but that's what it meant, that he didn't understand. He didn't understand our people. So he's going to look at it from an Arab immigrated here, that when they get married, they stay married because they got a whole infrastructure keeping them married. You know what I mean? Even they have a little bad time here and there and they don't get along, they stay together for many reasons, right? First of all, everybody's trying to keep them married. That's a big help. The next thing, if they run into a little slick spot, the family might help them a while. If we run into a slick spot, we don't have that, right? We just don't have the whole infrastructure. But if they don't understand how America is made, they will never know that we pay 12% more, sometimes 25% more taxes than white people. They won't know that. And they won't know that they classified as white because where they went to school, where they working, and they will never get arrested. That's why I remember in the early 2000s, we was doing all this background work related to 9/11. So Salah, well, I won't say, he said to me, I go to those courts all the time and sit in on those trials. Therefore, the government is not setting all them people up. I say, you sitting in there listening to what they say? Good God Almighty. And another thing he told me, he said this in words. Oh, you say something about the system and the drug trade. He said, I did my research. And that's not true. I said, I didn't even ask him, where did you go, to the damn library or somewhere? And looked in there to see if there was books on technically there are books on nowadays about police departments, the federal government and all that involved in drug trade. There are books on that, but he did his research. And I was there. I was sitting in the front row. They approached me with it. I went through the whole thing. I was there when they used to get drugs from cocaine from Peru and Bolivia. I was there when they changed to Colombia, because Colombia got two coasts. The Caribbean coast, they call them costinos, where black people live in Colombia. You would look at the movies, you wouldn't know that 33% of the people in Colombia are black. But all you see is the Latin ones. That's all you ever see. They don't, 33% of the people, in fact, what's the name of the Negro community here, the Shia? They got a big crew down in Colombia. Yeah, right here. They visit the people, the brothers here. They know them like, oh, you look. They tell me I look like so-and-so's father that's around here. You know, I said, yeah, we look kind of like. You can imagine who it is. They got a joint out there. You know, they're from Colombia. What I mean to say is this, Colombia, I was there in day one. The police sent me to Colombia from Bolivia. Oh, if you're doing that, he didn't say it in words. I have friends up there. Go up there and get hooked up with Randy and them. They got horses, exactly what. So, oh yeah, good. So I went to Colombia. Why? Because it's the new spot. Everybody here have never heard hardly about Bolivia and Peru, right? They done heard about Colombia, cocaine, Colombia. Well, cocoa leaves really come from Peru and Bolivia. That's where people chew them in the market. I mean, you could go, when I was down there, you could take 5 cents or a few soles. You could go in the market and you could buy a bag full of cocoa leaves. No, because everybody chew cocoa leaves and they put a little lime salt like, and it helps release the alkaloid. And the Negro gonna try anything. So I got me a big bag. A big bag, the shopping bag. You know, the brown shopping bag used to have. You get one of those full for like a nickel or a dime, something like that. And I sit up there and I said, no, the brother ain't into this. So I spit it out and I got back to the other things. But the point is, Allah wanted to be kind to those who have been oppressed. All kind of oppression. And then there's wonderful ayats that talk about Allah has promised those who believe of you and do good deeds, that he shall make them succeed in the land. Liyastaklafa, from Khalifa, fil ard. Kama astaklafa, from Khalifa, this says there's two places, one after another. Allah has promised those who believe and work righteous deed, Amilu Salihat, that He will make them succeed. He will give them this yastaklafa fana. He will surely put a point as a successor, make someone succeed. And the 10th form is Khalifa, okay, to come after, to follow, to succeed. Allah done promised the people that. As He had promised to those before them, they shall establish for them their religion, which He has approved for them, and He shall exchange for them after the fear security. They will worship Me, will not associate with Me anything. And whoever disbelieves after that, such one, they are definitely sinful. And perform the prayer and pay the zakah and obey the messenger, that you may be favored with his mercy. Never consider those who disbelieve capable of frustrating in the land. Their abode is the fire, and evil indeed is the destination. Never consider those who disbelieve capable of frustrating the people in the land. Now, this talks about leadership. What I want to say is, like right now, we have been dealing with certain situations. And you have to think, why are we still here in D.C.? Why are we still here? Not all, but a lot of the stuff that promises material reward happened out in California. Yeah. Out in California, they attacked the masjid several times. They put me in jail with the deed in my hand, which they can't do. They've sold property. They put me in jail on our own property. And put me in the police car at other property down the street. And let Khadijah and Mukhtar and them, when Mukhtar shot the dogs, they didn't even have a crime scene like yellow tape and everything. So they let them run around, or they're contaminating the crime scene. Right? They're contaminating the crime scene. I'm saying, hey, you can't let them walk in there. So I go in. They say, you can't go in there. I said, I own this place. You can't go in there. And they put me in a police car. I don't know if you ever saw it. There's a picture sitting in the back of the police car. They got me, I'm in the police car. And they can go in and do whatever they want. Why are we not out there? Why are we here? We went through several stages here recently. Strategic management under conditions of repression. Strategic management under conditions of repression. So therefore, we studied our environment, called scanning your environment, right? So you study your environment, its history, its ways of behavior, its patterns, and you study all of that stuff, right? Which we did. Then after that, we made a plan, a scheme, right? And then we followed through with that. And then after implementing that plan, we came back and restudied again. And then after that study, we're still in progress. We're still moving. So at this time, we might evolved to Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare, right? So it's moving right along. Nobody's paying attention to the evolution, but one is happening, then the other is happening. Then we evolve through those things, and we're physically successful. But what is that purpose for that? What is the purpose for all of these arrests? What is the purpose for everything happening surrounding us? Okay, something we said not long ago, that we're taking credit for everything that's going on here, especially in the United States. That we're taking credit for that. We're mustadafin fil ard, right? We are oppressed, openly oppressed, right? And Allah wanted to be good to those people, right? To give them successorship, to put them in line, right? To receive successorship. They're going to be, later on it says, warithin. They're going to inherit, right? Leadership because amilu salihat. They work righteous deeds, right? There's other things that's going along with it though. Then why are we here and why are we not out there? If that's where the action is, right? It should be a reason why we're still here. Okay, then why are we on cruise? I mean, you can see that we're cruising along. We're not breaking our neck. We're not going crazy. Why? You remember, you have to study your environment, but you have to study yourself too. There's the element that we want to clarify. There are reasons why these things happen in the order that they happen. Number one was to show you that you don't have to fear the system. And when they exceed the limits, they're not the first to exceed the limits. When you study history and when you study physical history, psychological history, and religious history, all of those meet together on what's going on with us. Right? This is the history of mankind. No, it's the history of mankind. Certain people at a certain time, and it's not any one group of people, all around the world. Every group of people, you read about the ancient African empires, Asian empires, right? And even the empires here in America. They had Aztecs, Incas, Mayas. They was big over here. Do you know the only thing they didn't have over here was the wheel? That's the only thing they never had over here. But if you was looking at the Inca Empire, like if you visit Cusco, Cusco is the ancient capital. It's the modern, one of the capitals, like it's in Peru. Cusco was the ancient Inca capital. And when the Spanish came, they saw Incas just wearing gold trinkets. They just wore them. And, you know, there was gold everywhere in those days. They had just gold trinkets. The Spanish were so greedy, they have ships that sunk in in the Lima harbor, Spanish galleons, that they overloaded them with gold and they sunk from what they took. But if you're in those big churches, remember they had their own religions, and you see they have the Incas laying down with the Spanish horses, the conquistadors, you know, basically running over them, and you see their eyes are big. They're looking at the Spanish in horror. They have these right now. You go see them. And the big buildings that they have, the churches, are built on the foundation of those old temples that they had themselves. They have a tomb of Pizarro. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him. Pizarro was the head conquistador. Now Cortez and all those people up here, we all over Cortez. But Pizarro, Francisco Pizarro, is buried in Lima, Peru. Big tomb. At least it was then. People, the anti-colonial spirit is kind of growing. They might have a little bit, and he may be gone by now. But he was there. And so we can see that those people at their time had power and authority. The Spanish Empire came and moved them out. The British and Americans came after the Spanish and took their stuff, right, and da-da-da-da, and then they had the Americans. And exceptionalism, I guess, is something that people are surprised when they're overthrown. And I guess they're shocked because after you've been running things so long, you think you can't, you're going to be there. That, no, I've been like this and I'm going to be here, I guess they call it exceptionalism. Everybody had it, the Roman, the British, they thought, ain't nobody, we going to be here, So they look up and they're going, why? This is a natural process that Aladdin put in charge. He done gave every group of people a chance to rule and lead, in the world. And the ones that didn't gain leadership, they had their own tribal, regional leaders, and what have you, and petty conquests back and forth, raiding villages and all of that. So that this stuff has been going on all the time. So Allah wanted to be gracious to a people that's been oppressed and depressed in the land. And for us, we recognize that people easy because we see ourselves in that picture. Other people don't see it like that. They don't see that, they don't have any idea. They're taking this like this was Pharaoh way back when. So if any new Musa or any recent Musa pop up, they're not going to recognize that Musa. And then the people that's starry-eyed by the glitter of Pharaoh, they're not going to see it either. Right? So the people, even in Moses' time, from Moses' tribe, they're going to be glitterized by the glitter. Let's call it glitterized. So they're not going to see no modern Moses, because Pharaoh got jets, Pharaoh got he in the big time. They're not going to see it because they dazzle. The Quran, they dazzle. They just bedazzle, redazzle, pro-dazzle, and con-dazzle. They all kind of dazzleration. They dollarized because they can't see, right? They can't see it, okay? But Allah wanted to be gracious to those people because, it says clearly, because they were weak and oppressed in the land. That means the natural process is going to go on, continue, as long as a human being is here. But we have a chance now. We have a chance now to reinstate the balance in Allah's creation. And that's been our mission all along, to reinstate. That's the part we want to play. So we're going to choose the part we're going to play. But Parts have stages. The stage of strategic management under condition of repression could have easily been a phase, which it was to understand strategy and management and all of those things, right? Psychological guerrilla warfare could be a proof of that by using those strategies, right? The strategic management. You look and you see, hey, what is our situation? Where are we at? What can we do? And our environments needs someone to make an example out of Pharaoh. He ain't gonna get spinning around in the water like before, right? But in modern times, Pharaoh has exceeded the limits. He's overflowed his bounds like any river, Taga. That's where the word Tagut come from. So we have a modern Pharaoh. He have all the exact same characteristics as the past pharaohs, because all the other people, right, that was oppressors followed the same thing that Pharaoh did. They just called him the king or something. Throughout history, it's been like that. So we have to study our situation, and then we have to wonder, okay, why didn't we go back to Oakland at the first of the year? We just said, well, Soleimani got killed, and then this happened and that happened. But is that the reason? Do Allah want us here? Right? Do Allah want us here? And if Allah wants us here, like if we're picking up on our environmental circumstances, well, why we take it easy? We ain't, before, we would, if we was going to fix that house, we'd fix it in 2 weeks. We'd do this and we'd do that. Of course, we're going to take care of all that. But why no hurry? Well, it could be that they're under a dispensation. What's that dispensation? That it's not our job to overthrow Pharaoh. That's the secret that we learned in all this doing that. It was our job to show everybody all this other stuff, but did Moses defeat Pharaoh or did Allah defeat Pharaoh? Right? Right? Who established Islam? Did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He was an agent of Allah. Right? But all those big victories, everything turning the hearts of all the people, it was Allah. Idha jaa nasrullahi wal fath. When Allah's help and victory come, and you see groups of people entering the religion in companies, hamd, celebrate the praises of Allah. Right? This is just in case he was thinking, yeah, shoot, I'm Muhammad, like at the Battle of Hunayn. I don't know if the Battle of Hunayn, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I'm Muhammad Abdullah. I don't know what y'all talking about. Shoot. I'm from the Quraysh, and, it was nice because every night, but it just shows you confidence. Okay. But he didn't. It was a lot of reorganizing people so they wouldn't totally lose that situation, right? That's why we're not back in California. That's why we're here. Because it's not strategic management under conditions of repression. That's good, and everybody can see it. Not psychological guerrilla warfare. That's great, because everybody saw it. Right? So technically, everybody should be ready for whatever else is coming. But the defeat of Pharaoh 2020, 21, maybe it may take 22. Shoot, it may go far as 23. Allah knows best. But boss man is headed down. Our boss man, you can call it a day. It ain't, I don't see nothing he could do. And we're taking credit for it. Just like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just like Musa alayhi salam was given credit in a way for the defeat of Pharaoh, right? And so Musa is mentioned more than Allah is mentioned, right? But everybody knows it was Allah. And everything that Musa went through brought up in Pharaoh's house, right? So he get a chance to study kingship, leadership, and he get a chance to have access to all the wealth that he'd like. Then he's sent to Midian, right? Really to outgrow all that, for that environment to purify him. He's out there getting cleansed. Boy, look here. That's what he's at, to strip all that. Okay, you didn't have all that, now you know what it is. Now I'm preparing you, that's what the Quran says. I'm preparing, didn't I bring you up under my own eyes and prepare you specifically for this mission? And now here you are in my service, right? According to a qadr. That's what, okay, now, in religious terminology, in historical terminology, all we're going to do is repeat the same thing that we have. I mean, it's, right? It's, look, this is front page news. Pharaoh is in bad shape. Boy, Pharaoh been making mistakes. Pharaoh done stumbled over this. Pharaoh, that's what the news. That's Pharaoh. This news 3,000 years ago would have been that news. That's what, if they had newspapers, that's what you'd be. Pharaoh looking bad for Pharaoh, boy. Look, and everything Pharaoh touched, it just blow up in his face. Everything, and it don't make no difference what Pharaoh do, he's a goner. That's what the news would have said. And now he gonna run off and chase Moses. Boy, he ought to stay home. He ain't gonna stay home. If he done had people wiping blood on their house and it go by everybody's house, except, I mean, they go kill off everybody else, the first son, and they leave the people that's got the Passover stuff on their house. Pharaoh ain't, that ain't nothing. That's what all of this stuff is that's going on. This ain't nothing here. You know, and this guy, he's a real pharaonic buffoon. He expresses Pharaoh plus with a Barnum and Baileyism to it. You know what I mean? The greatest show on earth. This guy, hey man, he's really, it's great. Because it's good looking at it. I can't wait to go back and turn on the news right now. Because, I mean, you know, where Sunday they have all these shows on, they play them over. Or you can listen to the radio and get all the Sunday shows, State of the Nation. So whatever I didn't see, Meet the Press, I'll just going, because it's like front page news. They just don't have Pharaoh's name on it. You know, they don't have bond. This is great. Well, why are we here? Why are we here? We're here because this is Allah gonna take a boss man out. Sure, we may file our stuff and get a. We're going to say $100 million. We deserve $100 million. The people look and they say, $100 million? Oh, you guys haven't did that much. Well, if they counted up how much boss man been stealing from us, how many, we've been doing this for 40 years. And boss man, can you imagine? We're not going to say if, because, but suppose we would have been left alone. Just to do, at the momentum we've been had all along, let's say we would have had a minimum of 50 masajid, a minimum. And the way we were moving, or the way we moved here, the way we moved there. that would have been worth hands-on at least $50 million. At least. If we'd had a place like this in all these, in every city with all this little stuff. And remember, we got this with boss man trying to stop us. You got to understand, go back, run it back. We got here when we trying to climb the pole and boss man up there pouring grease on the pole. That's how we got here. We running up the hill with a 200-pound pack on and plastic to make you sweat and all that, and we running uphill, right? And boss man got a heater and a fan in front of you just blowing heat on you, right? That's how we got here. That's really how we I mean, if you study, and so imagine just regular motivational, positive thinking, all that stuff, what we would have done. You know, we knew what we did before with, let's call them drug houses. So all I did when I come to the truth, I said, hey, if I could put drug houses all over just like that, I could do massage it the same way. That's why I thought about it, and it was true. Hey, if you think like that, hey, there's nothing to it. You know, even at one time I had the idea about, well, we'll speed up what we call them McDonald massages. That means we'll buy a house like that, or any of these. Then we'll put a big box on it. After we've built all these little things, we'll put a box on it that'll hold 100 people. Well, we could do that 2, 3 a year, right? That'll get the people started. Teach and train, have somebody in there, and they'll have places to go to the bathroom. If they want to have a few classrooms, the little house will do that, right? All it needs is a little house and a big yard. They want to cook food, they got all that in the little house, and they got call it the McDonaldization of the Islamic movement. That means, and all we do is we go there, we didn't count it up, it costs us so many $1,000s to put a box like all these, just boxes on the houses. 100 people can sit in there, right? That's to get started. And they get on up and they do the rest themselves. Okay, why are we still here then? We're still here because we are completing, or we are doing our mission. And we might be doing a reasonable job. But our job is not to do away with boss man. Boss man, that's Allah's job. I mean, that's for Allah. We got everything on us. We got sanctions. You know, like if they say Iran is sanctioned, then they got Venezuela is sanctioned. They got a lot of people sanctioned. We're sanctioned too. Do you know, we can't even, I forgot to bring a stack of checks with Masjid al-Islam. I can't, every time I get a bank account with Masjid al-Islam, I have it for a while and they close it out. I said, I'm not going to be bothered with y'all anymore. They closed out 6 accounts. Well, they turned 3 of the big accounts over to Mukhtar. They left 3. And then they said, oh, you can use those for a while. I use them a little while. And then they closed them out. I got a Chase Bank. And they just closed that out last few months ago. I got everywhere. I go to Wells Fargo. They said, well, you can't get no account. My staff said, well, why not? Well, they said, because are you in charge of the things out there? I'm not going to waste no time arguing with them. Fine. So if anybody want to send big money, just send it either in cash or my slave name, which we'll give you in a little while. But Masjid al-Islam, please, no checks. I can't cash them. I done had 8 or 10 or 12 accounts in Masjid al-Islam. They close them out. Just like that. Okay. But they ain't closing us out. Why? Because we're still here. But one thing I want to mention as I go along, we mentioned the bookstore the other day. Okay, what we're going to do with the books is, and this is an advertisement for the books, we're going to do vintage books over there. So we want y'all to send us, you clean out, your father just passed away, your parents or somebody, and y'all got all those old Islamic books up there in the cabinet or somewhere, just send them to us. Of course, free of charge. Because that's what we're going to do here, vintage books. Yeah, not modern, up-to-date books. We might have a few of those. Vintage books. That's going to be, it's not a market thing, but you look for a niche. Vintage books right now, half the people don't read books anymore. They can get everything off to the internet. All Islam you want is on the internet, right? Okay. So people are not reading or using all those old collections that they have. So if you have those old collections, just send them to us. The address is right there, 4603 Benning Road, Southeast DC. Yep, 20019. Just send it to us. If somebody has passed away in your family and they have all of those books and you don't know what to do with them, send them to us. And that's what we're going to be. You have to choose something that you like to do. So, vintage books. So people that want to find all the books that we studied when we was coming up, they'll be able to come here and get them. We'll even go to some of the book distributors around. Hey man, what y'all doing with your old books? In fact, technically I will. I'm gonna visit everybody. Hey man, y'all got all them old books. What you gonna do with all them old books? That's the way I used to do with Qurans and everything. You know, I visited the AMC office down there, you know, and all offices. So y'all got some nice Yusuf Ali's in there for dawah. So people like Esau and them, or Fareed and them would be down. I said, man, let me have 3-4 boxes of them books. That's 30 or 40 books. Quran, you know. When I used to, boy, books was fun. I'm gonna get back on the subject. But they had 2 Negroes, or 1 Negro working over at the distribution center, and used to be across from Adams Center. What's that town out there? All Dallas. All Dallas was not where it is now. It used to be in, I think of that little town right out there. But it was, all Dallas was out there. They used to have all the book deposits out there, and all, they had offices out there. So they had all of these great, very expensive books, like, remember Ismail Farouqi's Encyclopedia? Man, they sold it out at Halalco for $80 or $90, the original. And then $100. I mean, it was a good book. But I think I'm one of the only ones that still have a few of those books right now. You know, those great books, As-Sahifa, As-Sajidiyya, the ones, they call it Psalms of Islam, with the blue cover with the gold on the side. Man, those books are so expensive. Unbelievable. And the brother that got them printed, or Plaquis Azul or whatever, up there in New York, we used to do a lot of business, but he had a flood a couple of times and all the books in the basement just got wet. And he just gave me I said, some of these are still good. He said, I guess he wrote them off on insurance or something. He gave all them Mir Ahmed Ali's and all that. I just ran out of those a few years ago. I just ran out of those. Psalms of Islam, I still got one box. And when the Iranians and some of the people in Atlanta that dealt with books went bad, they borrowed the last, or not the last, but 10 or 15 boxes of those. And they never paid me. And then what's the name? He borrowed 1 or 2 boxes. Now those are expensive, very expensive. Anyway, we would go to office and say, hey man, you got a few of those things. The biggest fun was with Chicken Lips. Chicken Lips, do you know what I mean by chicken? That's okay. Anyway, Chicken Lips used to work with the Negro over there. I'm not saying the Negro worked in the book thing or kept it clean. It was a big warehouse of books. So some kind of way, Chicken Lips would come by every 2 weeks or so, every month. He'd come by regular. You remember all those books we had over there? Now, we ordered some of them. We ordered a lot of them from Pakistan and India. But we had anything you can remember, box after box, all the way down here. The boxes came out 3 rows at least, and all the way up to the ceiling. So anyway, and even over in this corner, we had books there. It was a minimum of 100,000 or more books in that, you know, and there, at least. And we turned them over because we went to book things. The last where I went to sell books, I think we went to Chicago when y'all was doing T-shirts, and I had some of the stuff out. You know, anyway, they kept my truck up there, and what's the name, when I went up there to give a... Anyway, the books help us do a lot of the stuff we do here. And what we did when we came here, I'll get back to the subject, don't worry. But when I came here, I left California, then I went up to Canada. And I went to that conference. I sold $1,800 worth of books. So when I got here, I had $1,800. And everything that you see here, all of that came from that, because I didn't bring nothing from California. In fact, we took stuff here out to California. So you can imagine the turnover of wealth. It was unbelievable. So anyway, what's the name would have a van or a U-Haul, and he'd have a Bible, Quran, and science, you know, 72 books in a box. And I was getting them for $25 a box. And that's why when we went to them big programs, I could sell them. They were selling them for $12 a piece. I could sell them for 7 or 8, 2 for 15, whatever they wanted, right? Because I didn't pay nothing for them. And then since he didn't handle books right, he would have them all over the floor in the van. And I would say, hey man, can I have those scraps? I gave $5 to them scraps. I call them scraps. And I did that for a long time. He came back one time. He said, I took one box of those scraps and I made $400 off it. I said, is that right? So I was calling them scraps. And one time he got low on his money or something. He handled them like he should. And he got $400 for one box of scraps. I said, well, anyway. But they thought I was a sucker because I would, must have been a $100 book, Ismail Faruqi. I would take box, all they had. I said, man, I'll give you, $7 a book, at that time. Then I said, man, I'm out of money. I give you $5. So if I sold them for $50, that means I would be 10 times my money. So if they had them at the big conference in Chicago, I could go and sell. They selling them for about $100. And then I'm selling them at the first day on sale for $50. So I done 10 times my money. And I'm just, people come by, what? I said, man, let me get a couple of them boys. Good God Almighty, $50. Then before you leave, you don't want to take all that stuff back. I'm having a crash sale for $40 a book, and that's 8 times your money. It's no big deal. So the big boys from out there came by. How can you do that? So, well, how many of those books do you have? Now, they didn't figure it out. Somebody didn't, yeah. How many do you have under that? I don't know. So many boxes. They looking all under my table like they own the thing. No, they serious. They mad as they can be. How much could we buy those for? I said, well, I gave you for $25 what's her name? Then here come the one with the Arabic book, it was kind of red looking, Saudi or something, this guy's name. He was selling his book for $15 or $16. He come by my table. Somebody told him, hey, there's a guy over there selling that book for $8. So he come by. How you selling this book for $8? I charge $12. I said, you charge $12? I said, that's really something. I said, well, I gotta. He said, I print the book. I print that book I printed. So, well, I don't know what to tell you. What, you want to buy some or something? How can you sell it for $8 and I charge the people $12 for that? But I sell it to them. So it must have cost them $8 to get it printed. And I'm selling it for I say, hey, man, just got a blessing, that's all. I can sell them to you if you want. He almost wanted to buy them to stop me from selling them. But ain't nobody going to buy his book. Now you got to remember, I would get one table at them bookstore, at them book things. Then I'd take this table, put it like this, and like that. Therefore, I would have 4 tables for the price of one. I said, I'm not going to let them people charge me all of them. You got one table, and then they got all them tables up there at the front. Remember, they got the best spot. So I said, okay. Right in the middle, they got the whole show, but they selling Toward Understanding Islam for $10 and all of that stuff. And I'm selling them for $5, the same one, and knocking them out of the box. I'm saying is that we're going to do that with vintage books. So when people want vintage Islamic books, and we're going to have cards for that, vintage Islamic books, and we have a site for it or something. Vintage Islamic books. And we want all of y'all, you can empty out your basement, and you got all them books at home, all them books, old Islamic books, don't throw them out. Send them here. Old Qurans, old Hadith, all them big old 9 volumes of Sahih Bukhari, send them on here. The big old time 4 volumes of Sahih Muslim, send them on here. And we're going to travel around when they start having the programs again, like that we would go to every now and then, pass out. You know, just imagine we would drive all the way up to wherever we was, way up there in the woods, to a conference to pass out a few CDs, and then we'd come back home, have a little dinner, and then come back home. Okay, we're going to be doing stuff like that, but that stuff is fun. So we'll go up to all them places, and half the guys I know, I'm going to just say, hey, man, y'all got all them vintage books. Just let us have them. Or all the ones you don't want to take, man, I'll give you $50 for all of them. Right? Stuff like that. We're going to have vintage books over there. That's what that's going to be, vintage books. On both sides, we're going to do the other side, clean it all up, and that's what it's going to be, vintage books. And that's what we'll be known for, rare books, specialty books. So people will be calling us from all over, you know, and a lot of the old timers will be, man, that's the book that I came to Islam on, all that stuff. That's what we want to do. And also, some of the modern books, not that I don't like them, but you've seen some of these modern books they have that on, first of all the ones from Dar al-Islam Press, not Dar es-Salam Press, over there in Arabia, Kitabu Tawheed, all them books. Yeah, of course we cleaned house on them. Yes, we did. Shoot. We have spread. Hey, man, I don't want to talk about it much, but they sent a donation of, it must be, you know, the old guy that run around here, he used to handle books for them. I ain't gonna say Marty Bray, but it's kind of like a guy like that used to handle all their books. Well, just like I could get from different people, I said, man, before they start putting on that, this is not for sale and all of that, shoot, man, I got stacks of books down there still. I didn't get them free, but if you're paying $25 a box of books, and there's 72 in there, I don't know how many. And one of them had a cover on it, beautiful cover. This is donated to, it's printed on the cover. My shit's in Cleveland or somewhere, I don't know. All you do is take the cover off. And those books, when they first come out, you knock them over for, it was carissimo. The point is, we'll do the same thing with vintage books, but good. We're going to do good. We're going to pre-fundraise for taxes. For Forest Auto, we're going to pass this out for Forest Auto. No, we're going to, somebody could drop by and drop off this one and the next. Because Forest Auto have not paid attention, we asked them to come by and pick that thing up, pick up everything and fix it. They haven't fixed nothing, they play like nothing happening. Well, all the people that just was strolling by, Najee was here for years over at the radio station putting, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to help Masjid al-Islam. Well, you can come back from Philadelphia and help, right? So he can come back here and help. He can't have all them Black August programs over there at the radio station, and all the people in Black August was my friends, and he never called me over there. Anybody but me. That's not, they can't get away with that stuff. So you got to just swallow, come on down, and when we go back to California, just help arrange the case. Then we'll go back. You, Najee, come back. And stop pretending. You know, everybody is who they is, and we know who they are by now. So, you know, we like everybody. You notice we announced to all the Negroes, we love everybody. We had a pre-planned program. And the Negroes don't call and say, that was a good idea. It's okay with me. All we do, no, you have to do what Allah, you know, hint or direct you to do, you do it. It don't make no, whatever their response is, they don't have to respond at all to nothing. So sanctions, our response to sanctions, we are sanctioned, just like Iran is sanctioned, just like Venezuela is sanctioned, our accounts is sanctioned, everything. We are really, and now remember, they're outside of America. We're inside of America. Can you imagine? That's sancciones. That's serious. Global situation. Where we fit, how does our analysis fit into all of this? That's what we're doing right now. How does our analysis, environmental circumstances, fit into everything that's going on right now? Remember, there's the leader, there's the followers, and there's the situation or the environmental circumstances. What does the environmental circumstances tell us? Well, we had strategic management under conditions of repression. We had Masjid al-Islam clear as the air back in the 80s. We done all of that. Now, here we are. What's happening now? This thing right now, Allah will take care of it. Yeah, Allah will take care of it. Allah took care of everything in the Quran. There ain't no prophet had a magic thing. He just rolled something other and it came out like that. It depended on Allah, right? So now we're way down here on the ladder, the human ladder, right? We really got to trust in Allah. If the prophets trusted in Allah, right? So that means, and what would we, if we're getting everything we ask for plus, oh Allah help make a fool out of the boss man, and Allah is making, we prayed for 50% fool, and we got a 900% idiot, right? So what I mean, where's our belief? What do we need to prove it is all right that somebody got us covered? And the Negro ain't got us covered because you can't find, but Negro, just could you come by 2-3 times, just high wave or something? You ain't coming by there. Oh, you know, right? It's ridiculous. You know, this, if you haven't studied Islam and black history, you wouldn't believe this because this has never happened. Nothing like this. You haven't read nothing, nowhere in any book about anything like this going on here, right? It ain't happened. It ain't happened with Martin Luther King, Malcolm, them, nothing. They didn't have all the time to play with boss man, to flip coins up in the air, to run around the block, to do what they want to do, and stick their finger in boss man's eye and walk away laughing, right? Then come back and do it again, and do it over and over again, and not take boss man serious. That's not normal. Everybody is paranoid of boss man. Everybody, you see Malcolm, he got his gun, his rifle up at the window, looking out the window, right? Martin Luther King is technically paranoid. We ain't paranoid. It's hilarious. That's what we were supposed to do, make fun of boss man. And show everybody else to relax. Take it easy. Then the situation will explain itself, global situation, where we are, where our analysis fit. God is on the side, or technically on our side. National relief depends on your relief on us. This is what we're telling boss man. You want things to be better for you? Well, leave us alone and fix everything. Pay us our money. Or you're just going to get worse. That's what we're saying right now. I'm laying back in a chair. That's what I'm saying to boss man. I'm not going out to California till I get ready. You can fix it all up or don't do it. You can do it, and it may be a little relief for you. Don't do it, it's going to increase. Your fires are going to get hotter in California. Because if you don't look out for us, you're not going to do anything to fix no fires, right? So your fixing us means that you swallowed enough to say, well, we got to fix the whole thing. That's why we're here. You can fix it, put it all together, pass us our, what do we say, $100 million. It's fine. We'll take that. And then you would be stupid if you don't try it and see if it works, because $100 million ain't nothing to the boss man. And you done stole, hell, I done paid almost that much in taxes. I mean, not that much, but just imagine every time I'm sure there's a pay the boss man want us to pay taxes. Okay, so it's your choice. What I'm telling you, boss man, and I got my boss man bites the dust shirt on here. Everything, if you don't look out for us the way we deserve to be, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. You can do it, or you don't have to do it. It ain't no sweat off of us. We suggest you do it, because we want to help you. Now, you got to choose. You're the crossroads. And everywhere road or exit you got is off a cliff. Every one of them. You ain't got no smooth. The only people that's got an easy exit off this is us, because we know where the special exits are. You don't know where they are. So you keep on driving. In fact, mash on the gas. If you so bad, yeah, just keep on. We're not going to beg you, please, we want some relief. No, you can do what you want. That's what our job is, to sell wolf tickets to Rayfield, to talk about you, to make you do that. And you don't have to do it. But history, remember, we're going to be writing about this, and all of this will be just like our old articles. Some of it is in the mold, but everything we're going to write brand new is going to say this, just what we're saying. We suggested to you over and over and over again, and somebody going to read them somewhere, right? And they're going to say, boss man was told, not only us, but you got to remember, the old silly man was calling it a herd mentality. He don't have no sense. Remember, it's not a herd mentality. It's a herd immunity. We call it a consciousness. What do we call it? That deals with the time, a type of consciousness, collective consciousness. whether it's colonialism. There is a collective. You can see white folks saying the same thing we're saying. Some Negroes saying the same thing we're saying. So we're not all alone. But imagine if Boss Man don't fix nothing. What history gonna say about him? And we're gonna be sitting right there laughing. We're gonna just be laughing. We're gonna say, "We told you so. You had a chance, dummy." But no, you was the big fool. Yeah, talk about all the people and the Negro this. Now look at you. With all that money, with all them friends, with all that help, you blew it. You're talking about a failure. You know, when Negro women talk to some of the people sometimes, we're going to talk to the white man like that. Yeah, sucker. You ain't no man. You know what I mean? Yeah, you a fool. And you let that Negro and them Negroes and them cotton-picking crackers, tree huggers and all of them make a fool out of you. That's what's going to happen. It's got to happen. It ain't nothing else. There's no other alternative because he's not going to fix nothing. There's no need to fix nothing. There's no need to fix. So therefore, I don't intend, if he accidentally fixed something, out of 50 things that need fixed, he could accidentally fix 4 or 5. But two of the main ones would take him out. So he's not going to fix them. Can you imagine? This is 2020 and ain't nobody even talking about fixing nothing. It's ridiculous. You know, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. That's what we say. Go ahead, boss man. You going out there. We're not going to beg you. Or ask you, please don't oppress us. No, you just keep on doing what you've been doing. And we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. So anyway, so if you want national relief, it depends on what type of relief that you give us. And this is not audacity. This is historical and it's scriptural. Everything we're saying, you can read it in any Bible, any Quran, anywhere. Any history book. It's just there, right? You can read it. You don't have to. That's the thing I asked the FBI. Both times I talked to them. I said, don't y'all ever read any history books? I said, have you ever read, do you just read a regular old history book? Just don't make no difference who wrote it. Just read a regular old history book. And they still arrogant like we're going to be here. I think there's some of them coming around now. Because, let me see. Big story, purpose of strategic management, purpose of psychological guerrilla warfare. We just mentioned those things. You relieve us, yeah, God will relieve you. Same thing we just said. How are we doing? We're cruising. Why and how is very simple. We'll just be here, and we're going to give you a little time to do what you got to do. And just like if we mentioned that somebody ought to call on the phone, they have a couple of weeks or so to call. If they don't call in, the offer's off the thing. Remember, we didn't go through this whole thing because we need so-and-so and them. It ain't like that. And if it looks like that, then y'all is crazy. Okay, I just said you're stupid not to try. It don't cost the boss man nothing to try to find. I don't believe that nigga is saying the truth. But we're going to give him so many million just to see. It's okay, we'll take a down payment. 25 million, just give us 25. That's a down payment, that's not the whole thing. And see if you can get a little relief. If you don't try it, you're not smart. Because you could print 25 million in about 20 minutes down there. Yeah, you can 25 million and send a fleet of Benzes over here and park them all out there. It's simple. You're giving them away, right? That stuff don't matter anymore. You remember a long time ago, if you had a new car, how impressive it was? When we used to drive them big brohams down the street, people still rode the bus and they was walking, you know. And here we come and them big pretty, everybody would, it was unbelievable. That was way back in the 60s. People just got from the country. 10 years before, they was barefooted. 15 years ago, all of us was barefooted in the country, and now we drive in the richest cars in town. It was unbelievable. So they can give that stuff away now. It's not important. You can go pay 10 years on a car. People are driving Mercedes. They drive anything they want, right? They just owe everybody. You used to have to pay for a car in 2 years or something like that. Now you can pay for a car in 10 years. The car won't run when you turn it in. Hey man, the car won't run. It's unbelievable. But you can still drive it for $500 a month. You can drive anything, $1,000. Man alive. Shoot, let me see. Okay, how are you doing? Cruising, why? You're stupid if you don't try. USA sanctioned Iran, sanctioned Venezuela, sanctioned us. Bank accounts, we mentioned that. This is guidance, not psychological warfare. In other words, don't mix up what we're saying right now with psychological guerrilla warfare. This is not that. We're just telling you the truth. Right? It's not. This is hidayah. What we giving boss man, this is guidance. It's not psychological. You don't have to look around trying to be slick, looking at the table. It's not that. This is hidayah. This is guidance. It's not psychological guerrilla warfare. Virus burden to the poor, lower middle class. A lot of surface mistakes you're making. Before, you could give all the money to the rich, but in the last 3 go-rounds, the Wall Street go-round, it was 99%, so everybody know, the 1%. Now everybody's feeling like they're moving from the middle class. They didn't move, everybody didn't need to move from the middle class back down, if they're lucky, to the lower middle class. And some have actually went to the poor and homeless. You would have to be in California to see the numbers of homelessness. And that was before this pandemic. And the top few percent got so much money they don't know what to do, right? Okay. What always caused rebellions in before? They're going to do you, keep on, they're going to do you like the people in France did Marie Antoinette. She's talking out the side of her mouth. Let them eat cake. They don't have no bread. Well, let them eat cake. They cut the girl's head off for that. They put her on the guillotine, like Gillette guillotine, Gillette razor. That's what the guillotine comes. They cut that lady's head off for making fun of them. Yeah? Okay. And I can imagine they cutting the head off, putting it in and let it roll in a basket. But anyway, Louis, it must have been 16, something other. Boss man, you don't know what, you think all them poor white folks is on your side. That's just temporarily. And I don't even believe they're on your side. I believe that's false advertisement that you saying that them people like Donald Trump. They would have to be card-carrying stupid. Why? Because they're poor white folks, and Don come from the richest family in New York almost. Don don't have no empathy for them. I heard a lady yesterday talking about, our clothes, about 4 presidents. She was talking about Lincoln. She was talking about Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Lyndon Johnson. And the thing she said, the length of the Abraham Lincoln, where he come from, was, log cabin, all that stuff, reading a lot. And he got big for then. He said all of his travels, he gained empathy. He had empathy for the people because he was poor, so he had empathy for the poor. They said Teddy Roosevelt was born rich in New York, and so was Franklin Roosevelt. They was rich New Yorkers. So just to lump them both together, they learned empathy because Teddy Roosevelt was so weak when he was a kid, that he started lifting weights. He got a tough little body, but he learned to gain empathy for people because he was weak at one time, so he could feel how people who are weak and unable feel, And the same thing with the old Franklin Roosevelt. Yeah, old Franklin Roosevelt, he 4-time president. That's when he was from an elite family, and then when he got polio, he was already in politics, but he got polio. It made him even more empathetic. They said that place down in Warm Springs, Georgia, he had it all fixed up for people because he realized that what they needed, he used to have a summer camp where he'd be there and all the kids would swim in warm water pools. He said he had parties because he said those people have to start having fun in life again. So he had empathy for people. Don don't have no empathy for nobody. Don, he don't have empathy or sympathy for nobody. Don is just a character. Actually, technically, I like Don. I'd like to hang out with him every now and then just to make fun of him. Said, boy, are you really that crazy? I don't believe you. That's the way I talked to him. I said, Don, I don't think you. Boy, and you're a bum. You're a loser. How you get all that money and then cobwebs is all around all your institutions, everything you had down in, all them casinos? Atlantic City, 2 casinos down there, Trump casinos. Now they cobwebs, water everywhere. Boy, you's a bum. And he is a, I bet you he ain't got $5. He don't have no money. That's how they trapped him. He don't have no money. If he did, he'd tell you. He'd show you all, look here, I got big money, right? If he had big money, he'd show it to you. Man, I got big money. I ain't jiving. I ain't lying. I got big money. Since he won't show you income tax or nothing, that boy is flat broke. That's how come people buy him for cheap. All his hotels. They just use the name Trump Hotel. He don't even own them boys no more. Learn to trust Allah. That's why we're not returning to Oakland right now. This is trust in Allah. That's what it is. That we're trusting in Allah. We're not going to bust our brain. Imagine if we would task with, you got to fix all of this, right? You got to defeat the FBI, the CIA, the Negroes, everybody. You got to defeat them all, right? You got to come up with something slick, right? To defeat all of them, and you got to get the system to work for you. It wasn't possible even for people that were commissioned to do it, divinely commissioned. They couldn't do it without Allah, right? So how are we supposed to do it? Because every now and then you say, nah, we're going to do this. So hold it. Don't get ahead of yourself, homeboy. It ain't possible. Well, we don't say it's not likely. It's not likely that you, 2 or 3 people, gonna come up with no scheme, right, to change the whole world of America, right? Hey, that's not giving up, or that's not saying it ain't possible. That's just like, it's ridiculous, right? Everybody need help, so Allah gonna send us help. Allah technically gonna do everything. Yeah, Allah's gonna do the whole show. Of course, we have to be ready for whatever Allah wants us to do, but Allah gonna put it there for us to do. Hey, we are not charged, with something beyond our ability. Okay, so that's the last thing. We have to cut that tree down out there. So if anybody has, is that right? Okay, call them one more time. Then we'll give Forrest Otto one more go round, and we'll start getting ready for vintage books. Vintage books, remember all of y'all, all of you have old Islamic books. Do not throw them away. Send them on over here. We're going to categorize them, clean them up. We're going to clean up our joint over there, and we're going to have Masjid al-Islam vintage books. It'll be fun because we can go to all the programs that they have, the booksellers. We just wait till after because sometimes they put out all the old, where they have the new printing, and then they had the old printing. Well, hey man, y'all got all of them old ugly books. We'll give you $50 for all of them. You don't want to take them back with you. Ain't nobody gonna buy them old raggedy books, no way. Right? People, the money people make on old records, on old baseball cards and dumb stuff like that? You got the right baseball card, you can almost retire. The same ones we used to get in a bubble gum pack, right?
I was listening to a program yesterday, and the guy said he's trying to find Mickey Mantle card, and there's only 3, I guess, made, and he said 2 people don't want to sell the card, and the one person is thinking about selling it, you want too much for it. So obviously, like he said, whatever it is, he can retire off.
Hey man, I look forward to vintage books because there's so many people that like the feel of a book. We'll put some stools in there. They can come and they can sit, and they could look at the books. And in fact, we put we got all that space. We clear all that out, put some lounge chairs, something like that, where they can sit back and read. We'll put a coffee thing in there. That's what we'll do. And let them drink coffee and put some expensive mocha joker, stuff like that. Yeah, cappuccino, all that stuff the kids drink. I said, how much does that cost? Of course, I put all the money on the card. That's only $8 or so, $5, $7. That's good God Almighty. And that's for a little one. But anyway, we'll do all of that. We'll turn it into a valuable, something that's fun to do. a good place to hang out, right there in something we already got built. So we'll vacuum it out in a day or so. Then we'll set up a time to put all that in boxes. And we'll rebox a lot of that, and we got if you want to see something full of books, is that little thing out there, back there? Man, that thing is full of books. But most of the books out there are Shia books, because what I did to raise money for the school, I went out to another warehouse. The brothers just had tons of books. So I brought about 50,000 of them back for free. And I told them, you could have these, y'all could sell those for the school. And they wouldn't sell them. And at that time, Shia books was still hard. I said, these are the latest, these are the real deal. And they said eBay wouldn't give them or use my name. I said, you have to put it on eBay. Hell, it's send stuff through the mail. People used to order books from us. They send it through the mail. We send it back to them. You don't have to have no eBay. I want eBay or Amazon or whatever they have. Anyway, are there any questions? Are there any comments?
One of the brothers commented, I don't know how early on this was, but he had said good insight. I forget what you were talking about at the time, but we appreciated what you were saying about, I think this was during the beginning about like Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. No, look, everybody else is worried. I'm sorry. I'm not worried about none of this stuff. I ain't worried about none of it. In fact, I'm going to go watch the news. I was going to get a little workout. I'll get one tomorrow. I just go and laugh. I know my kids, poor things, I be talking at the TV and laughing at the TV, And so they come and look, what's on, Dad? I said, this fool here is on. So I do it all the time. I'm sitting in there just laughing, at the TV, because the stuff is hilarious. I said, and then you don't believe it. I don't believe he said that. I don't believe that anybody that's the president would say simple stuff like, well, I don't know whether I'm going to, what is it? Yeah, I don't know whether we're going to, I might do it, I might not, I don't know. And then all the other white folks, the Republicans, are saying, this guy, hey, man. See, even when the vote come up, he may have lost 6 or 7 of his Republicans saying dumb stuff like that. You never know. It don't make no difference. If they vote the white woman in, she gonna mess up so bad that's gonna make all other white folks mad. Imagine they got Roe, whatever that is, and then they gonna take it away from them. Them white folks gonna you talk about niggas burning down stuff. You wait till you get, hey man, and now all the LBGP, all them lettered people and all of that stuff, man, and you can't have no abortion? What I'm supposed to do, have a baby? Right? All the sex they having? Hey man, I'm gonna get me a seat. You think niggas burn down, wait till you get all of these white folks. They're on the verge right now. You can't tell what the people are broke. The white folks as broke as we been. It's probably more white folks out on living outside than Negroes. They're living in real, you gotta go to California, you can't see it from here. Mile after mile of, you know where them shanty towns looked in South Africa? They got them in California. Mile after mile. And when I was out there last year, they said the last year it increased, homelessness increased 47%. That was before coronavirus when I was out there. It's done increased that much now because people can't pay their rent. Man, okay, so there's no more questions, no more comments. Okay. Thank you very much. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi.